Hi, so today I am going to be showing you how to create all the stitches for the new Stitching Spirit Beginners kit. So let's go. So to start with, you should have two threads that come in the kit. So one is like a more bright colour and the other is a more like naturey colour. So we're going to start with the bright colour. And I would recommend that you wind it onto a bobbin just so it's easier to sort of take off and things. I do have another video that shows you how to do that. But yeah, I would definitely recommend you put it on a bobbin, and the same with the other one. And make sure you label it to show what colour it says on the tag. Make sure you write that's 5 and then just write, just so it's easier for you to remember in the future. And you should also have two pieces of fabric. So the first one is this one, and this is the one we are going to be starting with. And then you should also have one like this, and that's the one you will do after you've learned the stitches, and then you can be creative with this one and do what you like on it and pick whichever stitches you want to put where. But yes, we're going to start with this one, and I'm going to show you how to put it in a hoop, and we'll start from there. So you're just going to start by taking your hoop that you'll get with it, separate it into the two pieces by just loosening the screw at the top, and then it should just come apart. Make sure you grab the smaller hoop without the screw on it, place it underneath the fabric, try and line it up a little bit with a really slight line on the outside, place the bigger hoop on the top, and then if it doesn't push down, you can loosen the screw a little bit more. So just line it up, make sure, like I said, it's roughly lined up with the circle, the big circle. Push it down. Don't worry if it's not perfect to start with, lined up. And then you're just going to tighten it a little bit. And then what you're going to do is just pull the edges of the fabric all the way around, holding it with your non-dominant hand. And just work your way all the way around. And then you can do the same again by tying it a bit more. It's also got a slight little screw here, so you can use like a little flat-headed screwdriver. So just keep going until you can't see the circle anymore, or it's drum tight. Just keep tightening it as much as you can until it's nice and tight. I think that's pretty good. And that's it, you're ready to go. So just for the purpose of this video, I have placed mine in an embroidery stand. You can get these in most places, there's lots of different types. I will be stocking these soon, these specific ones. I've also put my embroidery in a slightly bigger hoop than what you have, purely just so I can put it in the stand and for visual needs for the video. And I'm also using a needle minder, which I have lots of different types in my shop, but basically it just holds the needle when I'm not using it, and it just stops me from putting holes in the fabric or putting it somewhere where I'm going to lose it. So let's start with the first one. So I have just threaded my needle with 2 strands of the brightly coloured thread. So like I said, I have got another video on that if you're unsure of how to split thread. It's on the same video as the one how to store. So start with 2 strands of your brightly coloured rainbow thread, and we're going to do a fly stitch first. So that's this one here. I am just going to put it, you can start either side, it doesn't matter which side. So I'm just going to push the needle to the corner, pull it up until it hits my knot. I've put a knot at one end of the thread as on the opposite end. Go back down into this top one, holding the thread so that it doesn't knot or anything, just so far. And then I'm go up in the middle, pull that back up, let go, and just let it sit. So the tighter you pull it, obviously the more it'll sit nicely. and then you're just going to put your needle on the opposite side of that little loop you've just created. And that is a fly stitch. So keep practicing. Start again, you can start on the other side if you want to, it's not specific. Keep hold of this thread. If you wanted to as well, you could get creative and do a longer stitch down the middle, like that. You could even do it off to the side if you wanted to, or the other side, depending on what you're doing. So I'm just going to do mine off the side. And that's it for the fly stitch. So now I'm just going to finish my thread off now that we've finished that one stitch. So turn your hoop to the back. And then all I'm going to do is push my needle through the back of the stitches that you've just created. Just a few times, just so it doesn't come out. And then just cut that off. And then put another knot in the end again. I normally double knot mine just to make sure it doesn't come out. Then I will start the feather stitch. So very similar, bring it up, push it down, keep hold of the loop, bring it up at the centre, and instead of bringing it back down, you're just going to start the next one. So it's all connected. And then the opposite direction. So when you're doing these, I tend to do these sometimes when they're like vines on a plant, or if it's like seaweed or anything that's like that sort of shape. And then you could just keep going one way and then go the other way, or it's totally up to you. It's totally whatever direction you want to go in. So as you can see here on the first three, I've done alternate, and then now I'm going to do all the same way on the last three. So just keep going. And then for the very last one, do what you did on the fly stitch. So you're just going to pull it back down on the opposite side of the loop. And that's it, that's the feather stitch. And I'm just going to finish it off like we did before and then start the next one. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is a running stitch. So again, you can start either side. You're just going to bring it up at one end of the line. And this stitch is really good for when you're finishing your embroidery, so it'll just gather it all at the back for you, which we'll do at the end. And then you can do either like different lengths of these stitches depending on what you're doing, or you can try and keep them all the same. So I'm just going to keep them all the same on this line. And that's it. So I'm going to finish this one off and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so now I'm going to start back stitch. So I'm just going to do a normal, just straight stitch. And then I'm just going to bring it up roughly the same distance again to the left. Or the right. If you start over here, you can do it the other way, opposite way. It's totally up to you. So roughly there. And then I'm just going to put it back into that last hole. Like that. And then I'm just going to keep going. Same again. Again, you can do these different sizes. It's not specific. You can just make it what you wanted to make it creative, do them all different sizes. That's what I like about embroidery, that, you know, it's you don't have to be perfect. It's about being creative and making it what you want it to be. So just keep bringing it back down in that last hole you made. And that's it. Okay, so I'm going to do the chain stitch next. I've just turned the hoop around just because I find it easier to do chain stitch downwards. So you're just going to start at the top, bring your needle up, and then you're just going to push it back into that same hole. Holding the loop. Like that. And then push that to the bottom of that little circle inside the loop. Okay, and then you're just gonna gently pull it. And the tighter you pull it, the thinner it'll go. So you may want to just fiddle with it a little bit. And if you pull it too tight, you can always stick your needle back in the loop and loosen it again. Like that. And then start again. So put your needle close to where you just brought it back up. Again, keep hold of the loop. Down to the bottom of the circle. Again, the circles are just a guide. You can make them tiny, you can make them massive. And then just keep going. And then when you get to the very last one, you just want to push the needle back over that loop, just so you're catching the loop, just like you did with these ones. And that is a chain stitch. So the lazy daisy is very similar to the chain stitch. So you can start either end of the circle or oval, bring it up and then bring it back down, keeping hold of the loop, and then you're just going to catch it at the end of the opposite end of the oval inside the loop. So bring it up inside the loop, pull it till you get it to the size that you want it to be, and then just push your needle to the opposite side of the loop again, just to hold it down. And then so you're just going to bring it up one end of the oval, whichever, bring it back down, holding the loop, bring the needle up the opposite end inside the loop, pull it to the desired size. Again, you can fiddle with this side if you want, or like pull it and distort it, and then just catch it like that. So this side, I'm going to do it this side. Again, you could also be a little bit creative if you wanted to. When you finished it off, you could just do an extra length rather than bringing it back down and over the loop. You could do it like you did with the fly stitch. But I'm just going to catch it at the end. And that's a lazy daisy. So for the long and short stitch, you may have guessed, but it is a series of long and short stitches built up together to fill a space. So you never want your stitches to meet unless you finished it at the line, like of the shape you're filling. So you're just gonna, I normally just start by creating a couple of random stitches. Even if you're worried about keeping them all straight as well, I would start just by doing some random ones that you know straight, and you can use the needle as a guide. So if you were starting like here, you can just hold your needle straight like that, and then I normally just like that, and then just keep building them up. And then you just fill in the little gaps as well. You can go back into them. And I would do like one long, one short, one long, one short, just alternating to start with. And then I just go back and fill in the spaces. So my thread is getting a little bit short, so I'm just going to finish it off. Also, if you get any knots like this, where it's like a loop, generally if you pull the smallest loop just by pushing your needle in and then pulling it gently, generally it comes out. If you notice that there's a bit of like it's not moving when you gently push it, pull the other loop and then generally they just come out. Generally, not always. As I say, just do it very, very gently so you don't make the knot worse. As I say, if you're ever worried that you're slightly off, like lined up, if you want to keep them all straight, just move over a little bit and then just create the straight stitch that you want and then just fill that space in. You can always draw lines as well, like if you've got like a pencil or a friction pen, you could always just draw little like guidelines if you wanted. But the more you do it, the better you become at it, and it's just practice. Oops. So I'm pretty happy with that, so I've filled it from one side to the other. So now I'm just going to keep building that up and doing the same thing until I reach the top. And sometimes I also like go in between these, so even if there isn't a gap, it's just filling the space really. Sometimes they bump right into each other like that, so they meet. It's totally up to you. And you don't have to work from one side to the other either. You can do it, you know, you could fill it whatever direction you want. So you could like build it up and then build it across. It's however you feel like doing it. So now I've finished that and I've went round to write all the edges. That is it. So that is the long and short stitch. Okay, so split stitch is one of my favourites. So again, you're just going to start on one side of the line. Just do a normal stitch. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bring it up about half the length of the stitch you've just made. And then you're going to put it back into the centre of that stitch. So about there. And then you're just going to split the threads and you're just going to place it right in the middle. Like that. And then you just keep doing that. You can also do it the other way, so that if instead of pushing it into that thread, you push it up into it. But I think this is the easiest way to do it, so. And again, it can be creative if you want it to be, so you don't have to make them all the same. It's not about being perfect. It's about just having fun with it and being creative. And if you were doing this on, like, say if you were doing a split stitch around this circle, I would just make the stitches a lot smaller so that then the curve would be a lot smoother, so it's not all jagged. But this is definitely one of my favourite line stitches. Actually, I might show you. I can just go back. So, as I was saying before, instead of you going into the stitch, you could go like up. So I could just come up there and then put it back down there. And that is the other way you can do it. But that is a split stitch. So seed stitch is really fun. So it is just a case of doing lots of little random stitches. Generally you try to keep them all the same, but like I've said before, it's totally up to you. This stitch is sometimes good if I generally use this if I'm doing like gravel or like something that like is bitty almost, like soil or anything like that, or just for decoration really, like to fill something. And that is seed stitch. So satin stitch is another good filler stitch. I would normally start in the centre of the shape that I'm going to fill and just do a nice straight line. Again, you can use a friction pen or a pencil if you know you're going to struggle to do a straight line. You can also like do a guide for yourself, so you could do like one here like I've done here, and then you could just do like, you know, like that, like a few spaced out, and then you could always fill the space, and then at least you know then that you're going to be able to keep it nice and straight more easily. But usually I would work in the from the centre out to one side, and then work from the centre out to the next side. And if you get any gaps, just go back and fill them in. And I would recommend that you go to the opposite end every time. So if I'm pulling up here and then pushing down again here, I wouldn't generally start here. Some people do so that it saves thread, but I do think it looks slightly different. You can see that it looks different, so I always just go the opposite end to what I've just put down, and I think it just makes it a bit neater. Another top tip is also, sometimes if I'm doing a shape and it's a bit unusual, or you know, I want it to be really, really neat along the edge, sometimes I do like a back stitch around the shape, and then I just go over with the satin stitch over those back stitches. Just then it keeps the edge nice and straight as well. But this is just so you can learn the initial technique. Just take your time, try get as close as you can to the most previous stitch. And just keep following the line as well, the edge of the shape. So I'm running out of thread now, so I will just finish this off. going to do one last little stitch just to finish that circle off. Okay, so that is one half of my circle done without doing the back stitch around the edge. So I think what I'll do now is I will just do a back stitch on the other half, and then you'll be able to see the difference. So I don't always do this, but sometimes it just helps lift it as well. And it just gives the embroidery a bit of depth. And like I say, if you're worried about edges, it just keeps them a bit neater, and it fills the edges up a bit more. Okay, so now I've done that, what I'm going to do is when I pull it up here from the bottom, I'm just going to go just outside that first stitch, like that. Can you see how it's just below it, or just underneath it? And the same with this, just on the opposite side, like that. And just keep doing that, the same as you were before. It's just you keeping those back stitches inside the circle. So I do have a slight gap here. I don't know if you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back into it. And just fill that space. So that side is the side with the back stitch around, and I don't know if you can see, but it's slightly more raised, and sometimes I just think it looks a bit more like nicer and more full. But yeah, that is satin stitch. So we are going to do fishbone next. So I would usually start at the top or the pointy end of a leaf or whatever I'm filling, and I'm just going to do a really just little stitch just to get that point in. This is a good little guide as well. And then all you're going to do is work in a sort of crisscross pattern. So, and you're just going to work past this line, like on either side. So it doesn't really matter which side you start on, but you're going to bring it up just near the top, and then you're just going to diagonally go across, so you're working down like this, and then you're going to go the other side, do the same again but the opposite direction. And a good rule of thumb is to keep it level like this, so when you do it on the other side, keep this point level with this point and roughly the same distance away from the line as well, like that. And then you just have to keep remembering which side they have to do with the opposite side every time, and then just go a little bit lower. You can work outwards as well. Obviously, if it's getting, the shape is getting bigger, you can work these points out. But again, the most important thing I would say is keeping these level, these points level. and that is a fishbone stitch. So now we will do a French knot. Now I know a lot of people don't like French knots because it takes a fair bit of practice to get them looking good, but what I'm going to do is I'll show you with 2 turns, 4 turns and 6 turns around the needle. But what you can do is you can just fill this space as much as you like. So this obviously is just a practice piece. So you can just fill it as much as you like, and practice is the most important thing, and it's mainly the tension that makes the difference. So what I'm going to do is I've got my needle in my dominant hand and my thread in the other hand. So you can see what I'm going to do is wrap it around the needle once, and then twice. I've still got hold of my thread in my left hand. I want to pop the needle back down near where I brought it up. I've still got hold of the thread, and I'm just going to push the needle in slightly, pull the thread slightly so it gathers around the needle. I'm not pulling super tight, because if I pull it super tight the needle's not going to go back down and through the little knot. So I'm just pulling it gently, but not too gently, because if you do it too gently the knot will be really loose. So you want it just so it hugs the needle. And then you're going to push the needle in. Still, I've got hold of the thread just a little bit. Pull the thread down. And let go just before it all goes in. And I'll do the same again with this one, but I'm going to do 4 turns around the needle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Down again near where I brought it up, gently pull it to hug the needle, down, keeping hold of the thread, and let go. Same again. So as you can see, the more turns you do, the bigger the knot is. But the more turns you do, generally the tension is slightly less, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because obviously it's got to go through more thread. The needle, the wraps around the needle need to be a little bit looser, but again it is still hugging the needle. And then just before, let go, like that. So as I say, feel free to fill this entire space with French knots. It is about practice and it's all about tension. But you will get there, I promise. It is just practice, and that is a French knot. Okay, so now we're going to do stem stitch. So if you just start by bringing your needle up at one end and then doing a normal stitch, but just keep hold of it, the loop, till it's a little bit like that, and you're just going to bring it up back in the center of that stitch, and then you're just going to pull it up like that, and then do the same size stitch again, holding the loop like that, and then back in the center. And just keep working the line. Make sure you bring up the thread on the same side every time. Like that, like the loop's always below. And then just to finish it, I'm just going to match it to the end. Oops. Like that. And that is stem stitch. Okay, so to do a whip back stitch, first you're just going to do a back stitch all the way along the line, which we've done before. So I'm just going to work a back stitch across the line. Again, you can vary the sizes of the stitches if you want, it's totally up to you. So all you're going to do is bring your thread up near the start of where you started your back stitch, and then once you've started that, you're not going to put the needle into the fabric, you're just going to push it underneath that stitch, and then you're just going to keep doing that in the same direction for every stitch. So top to bottom, or bottom to top, whichever you've done, but keep it the same. So you're not pushing it through the fabric at all, you're just pushing it through under the threads. And again, you can do this in a different colour if you had a different thread colour. And then when you get near the end, just push it back into the fabric and finish your thread off in the normal way. And that is a whipped back stitch. So to start the woven wheel, it is sometimes called like a rose wheel or something like that, but you're just going to start by doing a stitch along the lines that are there. So I normally work from the outside in for the stitches, like this, and make sure you get it really central when you do push your needle back into the centre. Okay, so once you've done that, you just want to bring the needle up near the centre. Try not to bring it up near where you've just finished so it doesn't pop back out. So I'll do it like here. And basically you're just going to weave almost over these lines. So you go, like I've started here, above this line, above this line, the blue line, and I'm going to go over that stitch and then under this one and bring it nice close together. So then I'm going to go over this one, under that one. Pulling it gently, and again over that one, under this one, so it'll work out opposite every time. And just gently keep doing that. So you should always be doing the opposite to what you did last time on that line. Pulling it gently every time. And obviously if you haven't got yours in a stand, this will be a lot easier for you, because so you can just turn your hoop around as you're doing it. And sometimes I just hold the centre and pull a little bit just to keep it all together. And obviously the tighter you pull it, the tighter your little flower will be. But don't pull it too tight, because sometimes it can distort it. Just keep working it and being patient and taking your time. And you're just going to keep going until you can't see the little stitches that you started with. I think that'll do for that. And then once you're done, you just push it underneath the stitches you've done, just gently again, and then just finish the thread off, and that's a woven reel. So for the final one, it's very similar. So you're just going to start again doing the same thing with these little stitches, working from the outside in. And then you're going to start again and in a similar way near the centre. And basically the idea behind this is you're going to work over the like around the spokes rather than completely all the way around. So I'm going under 2 and then back over the last one and then going under 2 again. So I've gone under 2 and then I'm going to start again going under 2 but under the last one I just went, so like that. So again under that last one but under 2. And then just keep going under 2 but making sure you catch the last one that you just went under. And then pulling it to the centre. Under 2. That way you'll always be going over the same, you'll be looping over the straight stitches. And again just keep going and making sure they are laying next to each other, under each other, the little loops. And you just fill in the straight stitches. And then again, just keep going until you're happy with it, how filled it is. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to tuck it underneath the threads here and then finish it off, and that is a spider's web. Okay, so now you've finished all your stitches, you're just going to finish the hoop. So take some really sharp scissors, preferably some long sharp scissors, and you're just going to cut the corners off. So you leave yourself a little bit of fabric like this. So you're just making the excess fabric round. Try to keep it all the same distance all the way around. Like that. So you leave about an inch, maybe a couple of centimeters, 3-4 centimeters. Yeah, about 4 centimeters-ish. Just so that when it's all gathered, it'll keep nicely inside the hoop. If you leave it too long, sometimes once you've gathered it, when you hang it on the wall, if you want to hang it on the wall, it'll come away from the wall a little bit rather than sit nice and flat against it. And don't do it too short, because otherwise then you run the risk of it popping out of the hoop. So once you've cut that off, we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so to gather the hoop at the back, if you have any machine thread, like sewing machine thread, that's a bit nice, like easier to use in the sense that like it's cheaper and it's not as wasteful. But all you want to do is make sure you've got enough to go all the way around the hoop plus a little bit more. Make sure you cut that off. And if you don't have machine thread, just use 1 or 2 strands of the thread provided. Just thread your needle. Make sure you put a nice big knot at the other end. So I'd normally do about 4 or 5, just to be sure, especially if it's thin. Like that. And then you turn your hoop over and start wherever you like, and you're just going to do a big running stitch all the way around. Just nice biggish stitches. Not too big, just, you know, don't worry about keeping them the same distance or length or anything, as long as you're gathering it. I like to gather it a little bit as I go, just a little bit. And then just keep going until you get to the part where you started. And then just give it a gentle tug just to make sure it's all gathered all the way around. And then all I normally do is just pinch a few of the little folds near where you've finished and started, and then just push the needle through those folds a few times just to make sure you're securing the thread. Like, don't be scared to really, you know, secure it. And then just finish that thread off, and then that's it. And that's it all done. And then now you can hang it up, or you can just keep it as is. And that's how to finish your hoop off. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know your favourite stitches and also your least favourite stitches. Is there anything you struggled with? Let me know if you need any help or any advice. Just drop me a message or leave a comment. I hope you like the kit. You should also get one of these. So the idea behind this is so that you can use the stitches you've just learned in that one and to use it in this design. So please feel free to send me your pictures of your work in progresses or your finished ones. You should also get an instruction booklet in this kit. I will put a reference picture of mine that I've done, a finished one of this one that I've done, just so if you're not sure how to do it, but it is so that you can be creative with it and you can fill the leaves and the different the lines, and there's some little spaces for the little woven wheels, or you could just fill them with something else if you didn't like those. But I hope you liked it, I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learnt something, and I hope it encouraged you to try some new stitches or start a new project. And thank you for watching, and if you've purchased a kit, thank you very much, and I will see you all soon. Bye.